Here comes a hierarchy of horror. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're ranking the monsters from scary stories to tell in the dark.
They become real. They make us who we are.
For this list, we're looking at the hellish creatures that terrorize the young residents of Mill Valley, Pennsylvania in this 2019 film. Adapted from the popular collection of short children's stories by the same name, and brought to life by director Andre Øvredal and producer Guillermo del Toro, these monsters are all terrifying in their own right. That being said, we think some transition to the big screen better than others. While Sarah Bellows is at the heart of the story, we feel that, appearance aside, she wasn't really designed to be scary in her own right, but rather as a sympathetic character that drives the narrative.
They locked me away, called me a monster. Now they will get the monster they all deserve.
And so we've excluded her from the ranking. Without further ado, let's dive in and see how these monsters measure up. Please note, this list will include some minor spoilers, but we will try not to give away any of the major plot points. Number 5, spiders. So, how bad is your arachnophobia? If you're terrified of all things eight-legged, you might disagree with us putting these creepy crawlers at the bottom of our list. For the record, we do think this scene was absolutely horrifying and very effective. It is sure to get under your skin. But after making their explosive entrance, the spiders themselves weren't actually that scary apart from the sheer number of them. They were also the first and only threat to be defeated with relative ease, for which we have to dock them some points. That being said, we think that the way the spiders were used was fantastic. Not only did they tap into the common fear of arachnophobia, but by placing them in the ever-growing bump on Ruth's face, it also played on delusional parasitosis, the erroneous belief that one's body has become infested with living creatures. Number 4, the Jangling Man.
The Jangling Man is coming.
To be completely transparent, we had a lot of trouble choosing where to rank this particular monster. While one can see his potential, we don't think he was flawlessly executed. From one moment to the next, the character repeatedly goes from being arguably the most effective monster in the film to its most disappointing. When his head first comes tumbling down the chimney, it makes for a great scare. And from his strength and speed to the unnatural way he manipulates his body, the physicality of the Jangling Man also works in his favor. Contortionist Troy James deserves special credit for keeping the unnatural movement grounded in reality with his performance.
Okay, that is not normal.
Unfortunately, because the narrative action demands that the Jangling Man be front and center so long, we get far too much FaceTime with him. As we grow accustomed to his presence and begin to notice the CGI, he loses his ability to induce fear. Number 3, the Toe Monster.
It's a corpse looking for her missing toe.
In all the ways that the Jangling Man falters, the Toe Monster triumphs. This tall, emaciated, undead creature of the night admittedly doesn't get all that much screen time, but she knows how to make an impression in the time she is given. Well, that's one way to ruin a stew. A masterpiece of practical effects with just enough minor CGI touches to hide the fact that she's played by a male actor in a suit. The Toe Monster is something straight out of your worst zombie nightmare. As effective as the Toe Monster is when she appears on screen, what really makes this ghoul so terrifying is the time she spends out of frame. Hiding under the bed is a common horror trope, but this scene reminds us that when properly executed, and with the right monster, it still works magic. Number 2, Harold the Scarecrow.
Hey, Gary.
Well, we'll never watch The Wizard of Oz again. At least, not the scenes that feature the Scarecrow, that is.
Who said that? Don't be silly, Toto. Scarecrows don't talk.
Harold is easily one of the most popular stories to ever appear in Alvin Schwartz's books, the source material by which the film was inspired.
There is always a fan base who really want to see that come to life.
As such, Øvredal and Del Toro were taking a high-stakes risk including the famous Scarecrow in the film. Thankfully, they pulled it off perfectly. Never has the world seen an uglier or more terrifying Scarecrow. He fills the audience with dread long before he actually comes to life. Harold isn't mobile for all that long, But the tension is so expertly built up that by the time he does make his move, the audience is already feeling incredibly anxious. Of course, the after effect of Harold's attack only adds to the effectiveness of his supernatural menace.
Eat it, Harold.
Not quite at the end yet. Almost there though. Just be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Alright, back to business. Number 1. The Pale Lady.
Charlie had a dream of a red room.
Fear is a curious thing. On paper, a slow-moving, woman-like figure with a giant smile doesn't sound like the most terrifying of horror movie monsters. But if the paper in question is one of the illustrated pages from the original books, well, that's a different story. In the source material, though terrifying in appearance, the Pale Lady of the Dream story actually shows up to warn the protagonist of danger. Unfortunately for our young on-screen heroes, this version is far less benevolent, somehow stalking multiple corridors of a mental hospital simultaneously in such a slow-moving but surreal way that it'll make you feel major claustrophobia. Of all the monsters to appear in the film, the Pale Lady most obviously bears the mark of Guillermo del Toro's influence. She does the source material justice, but easily could have fit into 2004's Hellboy or 2006's Pan's Labyrinth. The Pale Lady is almost human in appearance, but it's the ways in which she so clearly is not that will make her haunt you in your dreams.
Run away while you still can.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.